Welcome to American Press Productions, independent political analysis. These are today's headlines. The House of Representatives voted Thursday to pass a resolution to reject bigotry, racism, and hatred. The measure passed 407 to 23. 23 Republicans voted against it. Most of those 23 likely voted no because they saw the resolution for what it truly is: a diversion created by Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi in the hopes that people will now forget about Representative Ilhan Omar's criticisms of Israel that have opened up a schism in the Democratic Party. Representative Steve King of Iowa simply voted present, an empty vote for an empty resolution. Representative Doug Collins of Georgia questioned why the resolution was 7 pages long and said, quote, "I am here with my friend from New York debating a resolution that all of us should have learned in kindergarten. Be nice, don't hate," end quote. The resolution also condemned recent death threats against Muslim members of Congress. Collins questioned why the resolution didn't condemn death threats against him that led to a conviction and prison sentence. Jewish Republican Representative Lee Zeldin complained that the resolution did not link Omar with her, quote, anti-Semitic rhetoric, end quote. Zeldin's complaint here brings up an important point that needs to be addressed. Omar criticized Israel, not Jews, who live in many different nations around the world. The fact that Zeldin resents criticism of Israel and labels it anti-Semitism, himself being an elected government official of the United States, seems to play exactly into one of Omar's statements that Jews have dual loyalties, sometimes supporting Israel over the country they live in. The latest jobs reports show only 20,000 new jobs were added to the economy in the month of February. This a drastic reduction from the 240,000 average for the past 12 months. The cause is as yet unknown, but unemployment numbers are the lowest seen since the year 2000 at 3.8%. The release of low job reports provoked hardly a stir on Wall Street and is likely not a cause for concern. More important is the recent economic data out of China. The U.S. government-imposed tariffs are beginning to take a toll. While Chinese exports fell by 21% in February, it was the value of goods shipped to the United States that dropped the most. Chinese steel exports dropped by 7% from January. The other cause for the drop is the global economic downturn, which the United States has so far been able to weather. The United States is officially a closed economy because less than 15% of imports contribute to the U.S. GDP. Compare that to a country like Germany, where 40% of its GDP comes from imports, and Canada, where 25% of its GDP comes from imports, 80% of which comes from trade with the U.S. alone. The more globalized a country's economy is, the more it is affected by global economic downturns. A new Reuters Ipsos poll shows that Americans have already decided if President Trump is guilty of Russian collusion and other accusations. These opinions were likely formed not on any factual evidence, but in response to party affiliation and news media reporting. The Senate investigation that uncovered no direct evidence of conspiracy between President Trump and Russia did little to sway Americans' opinion on the issue. The Mueller investigation, which is expected to soon wrap up, is also not likely to change the general population's opinion on any of the accusations levied against President Trump. While many Democratic leaders have said they are waiting to see the Mueller report before deciding on impeachment hearings for President Trump, 48% of U.S. adults polled already believe he should be impeached. 40% said he should not be. The differing opinions are almost entirely split along party lines. The American Constitution makes no provisions for political parties. The Founding Fathers were quite hostile to the idea. In Federalist Number 10, James Madison warned about the dangers to this country by what he simply termed as faction. By that, he meant the elite patronage networks in court politics in Europe, and a large reason for what he saw as the downfall of classical republics in Greece and Rome. James Madison argued, quote, "A division of the republic into two great parties is to be dreaded as the greatest political evil under our Constitution," end quote. In George Washington's farewell address, he warned against, quote, the baneful effects of the spirit of party, a conflict that would divide and potentially destroy the new nation, end quote. The Founding Fathers believed political parties would only partially represent the communities of America, and whose competition for the vote would lead to division and disunity, what we call identity politics today. Today, House Democrats passed a bill titled For the People Act of 2019. Democrats styled the bill as a continuance of their fight to preserve voting rights in America. But the truth is, Democrats are setting the foundation to allow illegal immigrants to vote in American elections. The bill will move to create an online voter registration process, such as requiring every state's Department of Motor Vehicles to provide an opportunity to register online to vote to anyone who receives a driver's license. Wisconsin will soon join 12 other states in allowing illegal immigrants to obtain a driver's license. Part 1 of For the People Act of 2019, Promoting Internet Registration, reads that any applicant who seeks to vote in an election for federal office will be considered to have provided a valid voter registration form by only providing a signature, not any valid ID. The bill does not require any agency, such as the DMV, to ask for citizenship status before registering the person to vote. However, if an illegal immigrant answers incorrectly and is accidentally added to a voter registration, Part 2, Section 1015 provides that illegal immigrant with protections. It states an individual shall not be prosecuted under any federal or state law adversely affected in any civil adjudication concerning immigration status or naturalization, or subject to an allegation in any legal proceeding that the individual is not a citizen of the United States on any of the following grounds, one of which includes if the individual did not make an affirmation of citizenship during any automatic registration. The bill further provides that the automatic registration of any individual who did not make an affirmation of citizenship, including through automatic registration, may not be used as evidence against that individual in any state or federal law enforcement proceeding, and an individual's lack of knowledge or willfulness of such registration may be demonstrated by the individual's testimony alone. The bill is anything but airtight on ensuring illegal immigrants do not vote. Republicans sought to add an amendment to the bill that would prevent illegal immigrants from voting in U.S. elections. That amendment was shot down 226 to 197 along party lines. Earlier in the week, Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi said, speaking about immigrants, quote, "Newcomers make America more American, and we want them when they come here to be fully part of our system, and that means not suppressing the vote of our newcomers to America," end quote. The bill is expected to die in the Senate, and even if it were to pass, the White House has signaled it will be vetoed.